And we published before knowing that, because we figured it was so beautiful, it's got to be right. And the experiments had to be wrong, and they were. Now, our friend over there, Albert Einstein, used to pay very little attention when people said, you know, there's a man with an experiment that seems to disagree with special relativity, D.C. Miller. What about that? And he would say, oh, that'll go away. Now, why does stuff like that work? That's the question. Would they really have different laws? There are lots of people who believe that, and I think it is utter baloney. I think there are laws out there, and we, of course, don't understand them at any given time very well, but we try, and we try to get closer and closer. And someday we may actually figure out the fundamental unified theory of the particles and forces, what I call the fundamental law. We may not even be terribly far from it. So what that means is that the history of the universe is not determined just by the fundamental law. It's the fundamental law and this incredibly long series of accidents or chance outcomes. You look at gravity, you see a certain law, and then you look at electricity, and sure enough, the same rule. It's a very simple example. There are lots of more sophisticated examples. Symmetry is very important in this discussion. You know what it means. A circle, for example, is symmetric under rotations about the center of the circle. You rotate around the center of the circle remains unchanged. Maxwell's equations are, of course, symmetrical under rotations of all of space. Doesn't matter if we turn the whole of space around by some angle, it doesn't change the phenomenon of electricity or magnetism. That when they had the plague in Cambridge and he went down to his mother's farm because the university was closed, he saw an apple fall from a tree or on his head or something, and he realized suddenly that the force that drew the apple down to the earth could be the same as the force regulating the motions of the planets and the moon. That was a big unification for those days, although today we take it for granted. Who today would claim that as a mere conceit of the human mind? That the force that causes the apple to fall to the ground is the same force that causes the planets and the moon to move around and so on. Everybody knows that. It's a property of gravitation. Anyway, there isn't. You don't need something more to explain something more. Thank you very much.